here is how my Media Composer looks like when it's opened up. I'm going to close it because I want to make sure that I start from scratch. But before anything goes back, before anything goes bad, or before I switch it back to the original, I'm going to show you the interface. If you are a user of Final Cut, Premiere, or DaVinci, or any other nonlinear environment, you know that editing is not complicated. Editing is very simple. You just need to know where the stuff comes from, where does it go, and how you manipulate it. In my window right now that I am showing to you, I'm seeing the source monitor and the record monitor. Source monitor, record monitor. That's part of the composer. You can call it player deck, recorded deck. You also have the bottom portion of the environment called timeline, and timeline actually gives you a graphic representation what you are looking at. So in my case, you see that I have 3 video tracks, video 1, 2, 3. The left side has a little monitor, looks like a television monitor. If you're familiar with the Premiere family or with the Adobe family, they have eyes, what you see. So in this case, I'm looking at the lower layer. And if I add a filter to it, I'm blurring the whole thing. So I'm blurring it and everything is blurred. You see that filter is blurring everybody. And on top of it, I have a title track, and the title track shows you who I am, what are we doing, and what is being discussed. So with that, Command Q or Media Composer quit. That's going to get us back to basics. And let me talk about how you can benefit from Media Composer. There are 3 things that we experienced in the past. So when you open up your Media Composer application program, you will see on the bottom opening window a section. If you are working for a network, ABC, NBC, pick one, any of those 3 letters, there is going to be a Media Central. But that actually is a management, how you have access to the media. So by definition, AVID was designed way back to have not a standalone computer, which is ISO, independent source. You are working on AVID if you work for corporations where you have a chair, and that chair is the computer, is the monitor, and there's a computer that may not have footage. The footage is on a server. That's why you will have to have the host name, username, and password. So you're going to be the Media Central login. That's a totally separate entity from the Media Composer, but it is part of the environment, the server environment. So if you're not working for a network, that is not going to be an issue. Bottom line is that if you want to learn on your own, you would get the software and you're a standalone environment, and that time the Media Central doesn't make sense. So now you bought the software, you're paying for it, and now you're going to start a new project. So when you start a new project, on the upper area, you notice that there are 2 buttons. One is a project that shows you the existing projects that are available that you worked on or somebody worked on that computer. But if you're a brand new novice, you will activate your new project. If the new project is opened up, activated, it first of all asks you what is the name of the project, which is making sense. So let's say you call it Thursday, it's a sunny day, Thursday, spring. So let's say if we work for any network, and in PBS or HBO, you're probably going to get specs telling you that you need to have a format that is high definition, 1080, and it can be / interlaced I, P stands for progressive, I or P progressive. So these are the frame rates. Generally, in these United States, we deal with 30 or 2997. In other countries, you can deal with 25, which is all the PAL countries, Western Europe, most of it, Eastern Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, some countries. But generally, if you are working for the internet, it's irrelevant. So if you're doing things for YouTube or internet or Vimeo or any of these other applications or other environments where you can distribute it, it's irrelevant. Why? Because whatever it is, it is. If you're working for a network, which means that in these United States, any of the big 3 letters or Comcast, anything, cable stations, they will tell you, well, the requirements for us is high definition, and it will tell you high definition, and they'll tell you the frame rate. Let's say, for example, they will be 2997, 1080p. So that's when you are doing it for a output. Now, if you are calculating on your own, and we call it speculation, you say, well, I'm going to shoot on 4K. I'm going to cut it in 4K. And down the road, when I sell it, distribute it, I can decide what to do. So now, watch it. You are not doing it with high definition. You can do a 4K. And the 4K does give you a whole bunch of pixels, 3996 by 2160, and it gives you the pixel numbers. Now, in my case, I am using the Ultra HD, which is basically doubling the height of the signal and do it. So that is actually not high definition. It is 4 times. So it is Ultra HD, ready for the Ultra HD 4K television broadcasting. And these are the things that you need to know ahead of time as a producer, as a editor, as a person who wants to get paid for what you're doing. So again, 2 different ways. 1, when you know what they want and they'll tell you. 2, if you don't know what they want, you can say, well, you know, I'm not sure, but I had shot 4K, so why don't I cut it in 4K? Guess what? Ultra HD 4K running at $29.97. There we go. So your project is going to be called Thursday Spring. It's going to be running it at Ultra HD 29.96, and you can see that the pixel 3840 pixels by 2160 pixels frame rate. Now, this is explained when we do a class and we in detail explain what is the size and raster and all the rest of the stuff. But essentially, you are always dealing with 3 elements. What is the frame rate? What is aspect ratio? And what is the raster size? So if you know all those things, now you are looking for a new project that is going to be called Thursday Spring, and you want to decide what is the color. Color is a big game now, last 2-3 years, primarily because each camera that you buy today from Nikon, Panasonic, Sony, Canon, anybody, you know, Red, has ability to record more information in terms of color, 8-bit color, 10-bit color, 12-bit, and so on, complex. Why is that important? Maybe not. If you're doing news, I don't have time to putz around. I need to put on the news. It's a beautiful sunny day, first day of baseball, Yankees first day, or whatever game. Okay, and then you can report it, and that report goes in the air, and that's it once. Unless you're doing like an HBO feature or a documentary or National Geographic, then the color will probably come into play. But generally, you are using for broadcasting YC, CBC, unless the people who you're working for will tell you, well, when you send us the stuff, it has to be Ultra HD 29.97, 3840, and it has to be a specific color. And you can do all these choices that are available. And point is that you do it ahead of time. You make a decision at the beginning. So with that, I'm going to start a new project, and that new project is going to be living in the location what I say where the project starts. If I change my location, for example, I'm going to click on the folder and say, hey, I'll put it on a desktop so I can find it easier. Where does it go? Well, the desktop would be right here. I can put a folder and put my stuff in it. So there's a different way of doing that as you wish, depending on what your needs are. So in this case, if I want to put it on a desktop and I called it Thursday Spring, open it up, that's where it's going to go. And when I create, my project will be created. Stop for a second. What is the most important thing for me? I am maybe left-handed. Maybe I have a different understanding of how the keyboard functions. So I can set up in my user profile a specific keyboard setup, custom setup, and that can be taken with me anywhere in the world, as long as the version of the Media Composer I'm using is 2019-6 and above, and it will be compatible with Windows or Mac, the coolest thing ever. So you can actually have your setting where you rearrange the keyboard buttons. And I'll talk about that, what is that, and how important that is, if it is important for you. So if I'm a user, and if I'm using my own stuff, I'll set it up. But if I want to start a brand new, create a user profile, that's going to be default. I'm going to call it default, and I'll call it webinar group, to see how simple it is to create a new default keyboard setting or user setting. The reason I'm saying or, because keyboard is just one element of the user setting. So with that, now when I hit choose, creates, opens up, and it says, okay, what do you want to do? Opens up and it says, okay, I have some setups. So in this scenario, if I have a scenario where I need to reset things, where things are kind of rearranged, I have a double monitor. So for me, the stuff is kind of split into 2 monitors, so you don't see all the interface. But if I go in the upper right-hand corner, I want to see edit, and in the Windows drop down, can I reset it? Will it restore to saved? There we go. Now it splits it automatically. The computer recognizes, AVID recognizes I have 2 monitors. So for that reason, I'm going to open up my new setting, which is going to be, well, it's not a new setting. It's a setting that I had done earlier, and that is having my name. I'm going to set it up here. I'm changing the user settings to my name, and my user settings are different. Continue. There we go. So now you have everything on one window. The reason I'm saying one window, because AVID by definition, by design, originally was a 2-monitor environment. Now I have 1 monitor in Zoom, so if I move away, you don't see things. You see that it goes away. But my point is that if you have the need to split things by definition, as soon as the second monitor is plugged in, AVID recognizes it, boom, splits it up. And it puts the source and record monitor in one window and the timeline on one window, splits it up very nicely. Now, I talked about the presets of the work area. We call it the Windows work area, okay, workspaces. Notice in the upper right hand, I have a edit, which is splitting in two ways. Color also messes things up. Effects is to split, audio is split, but the Friday is actually cool because on the Friday, I have the source, record, the timeline put together. When I say put together, I could theoretically tear something off, which is what I'm doing right now, tearing it off, and I can put that window someplace else. You see, I'm moving it in another place. I'm moving it on the second monitor. And because I'm feeding you one window on the Zoom, you don't see that. With that, let's just understand how the process of bringing stuff in is. Let me just reset the window, drop down, and restore to saved. There we go. Notice that the source window is colored green. The record window is color blue. Very cool thing, very important, especially if you're dealing with a small 13 or 15-inch laptop. So the question is, how does the material come in? How do you get material? When I say material, I am presuming that you are not working for a network, because network would probably have the footage already digitized by interns or assistants, and you would have access to the media right away. I'll give you that scenario in a couple of minutes. But right now, you went outside, it's a beautiful day, shot some stuff with your camera, and you want to bring in the camera original. Okay. And the camera original is now in your ecosystem. So you put it onto the, whatever the connection is, USB or whatever, and now you're looking for where it is. There are two different ways of doing that. One way would be saying opening up a bin, and that's it, Thursday spring. Okay, so that's a bin. It looks like a cabinet pulled out from a drawer. That's what a bin is. And if you double click on it, it says, okay, that's the bin, Thursday spring. And if you right click, drop down, you can input it. Source browser import. Now, the source browser presumes that you're going to be looking for things and finding things and see before you bring it in. And that's generally the scenario. So now here's your ecosystem. I have a whole bunch of drives, and I happen to know that on my AVID and Resolve in Adobe, I have a whole bunch of stuff. Like what? Well, let's say find out if I can find footage. What kind of footage? I'm going to go from someplace. Let's say, what are these guys doing? Okay, so they have media files, and these are QuickTime movies. And you can see that these guys are already universal media encoding connects it. And I'm looking at some files in picture view, and these are picture files. The reason why this is good is because I'm looking at the material that I caught on the camera through the AVID eyes. That's why you check it and say, aha, the system is recognizing these files. So if I can connect to these guys, and you notice that when I went through here, one more time, I did not use the import tool. I used the source browser. That is important because in AVID, the concept of import and link is very drastically different. How so? If you do the source browser, you notice that I can find those files, which I did. Let's say a whole bunch of them. I select them, highlight them. And on the bottom left, and you see I'm linking them. I'm not importing them. Okay, I'm linking them. So if I'm linking them, I can do the link. Watch how fast it goes. Ding, done. What? I got the stuff already in. Yeah, it's in already. Whoa, man, that's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. This is essentially saying that you are connected with a handshake to the files, and whatever the file format is relevant. AVID recognizes it. And that's when you are looking for something that, in this case, the AVID link says AMA plugins. What does that? Let me explain the concept of what linking is in terms that you may easier understand. Not that you don't get it, but here's the deal. You get a computer for a gift. Great. And you also get 2 months after that a printer. Now you connect the printer to the computer and it is not working because the printer maybe is newer than what the computer people, when they sold you, put the installation, the driver, so it recognizes the printer. So now you go onto the site. Let's say it's a Canon printer. Go on a Canon site. Okay, can I download the printer driver for that computer? You download it. That's what that is. So that's what the AMA plugin is. And essentially, you need to find those where they are. AMA plugin, I have a whole bunch of pages, and AVID says, well, if you are a serious editor, which you are, we're going to give you a link page where we can find all those plugins. What do you mean plugins? Well, I have AVCHD, Canon plugins, Glue tools, Drastic, MXF, Panasonic P2, Red plugins. Let's say that you're working with Red. So you can see the download is the newest. Ignore, there we go. The newest is February 16, 2020. So you download the plugin. Now, what's a plugin? A plugin basically allows you to read without importing the media. Media Composer reads the file, whatever the camera file is. Cool. And this is a keyboard shortcut. And we, as I said, teach this in class much more detail, but I'm running through it because webinar is basically just to like a giveaway for free samples, essentially, hoping that you will choose us for training. But essentially, here is what the AMA searches for. In the tools dropdown, I have a console where I can type in a specific code in my system. Let's do it properly. List and plug ins. There we go. So in this computer that I have, these are all the plugins that I have: AVID Generic, IMF, QuickTimes, Media Collector, MSR, AS, Wave, Red, and all that stuff. And this guarantees that whatever I have from those particular manufacturers for those particular environments, when I want to link, AVID will recognize it. And that's why this system was able to recognize those things. Now, when I delete that, it is not deleting the files. It is just deleting the handshake. So now the question is, what is the difference between the browser, which is what I said, link, and the import? The import is a different deal. The import is making sure that whatever you had on the camera original, the camera card, is going to be copied over into AVID, and it will be transcoded into an AVID speak, which is MXF, Media Exchange File Format. That is the proprietary AVID file format. And some of the files may or may not be recognizable. So in this case, if I want to import it and I want to transcode it to a specific resolution, whoa, now we're getting very complex. And this generally comes to you if you are a novice and you just got hired. Let's say Monday comes, you are working for, pick any of the three letters, the one that are, you know, close to your heart, CNN, ABC, CBS, whatever, pick one. And it's, okay, welcome to the team. And at this particular environment, we are importing at this particular compression. What is the compression? So it gives you compressions, DNX, HR, which are usually the AVID ones. Then you can also do Apple ProRes or uncompressed and all the rest of the stuff, depending on the resolution of the project. And then the question is going to be, where will that new media go? Oh, okay. So now you have a whole bunch of drives. And this is where the difference between you working home and difference working for a network goes, because they give you specific drives that you either don't have authority or have authority, or it's already done for you, so you don't even have to deal with this. If you're at home, you have to decide that, well, I'm going to import that and put it on my drive to send this go to, and that's where all the stuff's going to go. Am I splitting the audio and video? Maybe. If I split it, I can put the video separately and audio, because remember, if you and I are talking, there's a picture and there's two audio files. Generally, that is the voice. So those are files that are connected to one file. With that being, now we can actually hit the import. And if the import works, it does. So it will take time and space. So the import in AVID is much, much different. Now, because I said something about the simplicity, so instead of right-click on the bin and do the browser, this is the faster way to bring the stuff in. Watch it. I happen to know where my stuff is. When I say stuff, let's call this the camera card. This is my camera card. Let's agree on that, just for demonstration purposes. And for some of you, I do understand might be too boring because you have done this before. For some of you, this is brand new. I hope that it will make sense. Let's say that I'm looking for a place where I'm going to bring in footage, and here are these QuickTime movie files. Now, I have a QuickTime movie file that the computer recognized, but this is my looking at the footage on the operating system. I don't know if the AVID can see it, so I'm not looking for the browser. I'm looking at it and say, oh, well, the computer probably recognized. So I'm going to grab a whole bunch of these guys, holding down Option, Alt on the Windows, and I make the link. Look at it, how fast it is. Ding, dots. Whoa, that's how easy it is? Yes. And even though it is visible, it needs to be clarified how visible it is linked. You notice that there are some icons there. And it says, this is a little chain icon, so it's linked. Can I play them? Let's try it.
Perfect. Where are you, guy? Where's your skateboard? There it is.
Cool. So these are playing and the system is functioning. That is how you would do the linking. Because time is running out, I need to move on and show you how a pre-cut story is. And that would presume that on Monday, when you show up for work. Well, welcome, John, Jane. Sit down. Here's a tool. Start editing. We have everything set up for you. Somebody during the weekend ingested material for you, and we have all the material. So let's now play that scenario. Whatever I have in this case, in AVID, you cannot have multiple projects at the same time. You can have material from multiple projects shared in one project, but by definition, you're always wanting one project, which is other than like in Premiere. I'm using that as a reference because you may come from that environment. Premiere is a kitchen. You can actually cut anything, any frame rate, any aspect ratio, a whole bunch of stuff. And projects are just a meal in the kitchen. Here, the kitchen and the meal is the same. So in order for me to get out of here, I'm going to close this project and watch what happens. It doesn't close the application. It goes back to where you and I were at the beginning, maybe about 15, 20 minutes ago. So it goes back to the basics. So now it says, okay, you have created a project on the desktop. Are there any other project? Yeah. Where are the projects? Well, if I open up, there is a place where I have all the shared AVID projects, which is generally what you would do if you work for a network. So now I have all these projects that you and I have access to. Who are you? Well, you are going to pick your username. Does it matter? You can use somebody else's. I'm going to use my name and watch what happens when I look for things. So these are all the preset projects. And I have a project. This project is running at 1280-720p. It's a 24 drop, which is 23976. And it tells me the raster size is 1280-720. The color space is YCBS. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And it tells me when was it created originally and when was I modifying it. The coolest thing ever. Left double clicking on it opens it up, or bottom right hand corner, open it up. Let's see what this is. This is a pre-cut project that I pre-cut for you, and we use it for the webinars. So this is a project that I have a whole bunch of bins. What is a bin? Let me show you what the bin is. I'm going to close a whole bunch of things here. Source monitor, let's learn it. Record monitor, timeline. And these are the elements that I am going to be working with. I'm going to rearrange my element a little bit. And this is now magnetic. And you notice that each of these bins have a space. Tell me that this is 884K. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in it, probably. Left double clicking on it opens it up. Now I see you inside. The icons that I'm looking at are very specific. 3 clips on the strip. So that is a story. That's the icon for the sequence for a story. Bumper, teaser, promo, documentary, anything like that. Now, watch this. If I go into some material, like, for example, I have footage that is like this. Icon is now a simple single film strip. So if I want to look at something, the guy is stretching, there we go. It's an exercise. These are all clips that were brought in. They were imported. They were transcoded from whatever the camera original was, and they were transcoded. Now, if I have stuff that is linked, look at the icon. Icons are different. This is offline, so maybe I don't have it connected, so I need to find where it is. But right now, for what you and I are looking for, is going to be in the instructor lesson sequences. I'm going to open up a sequence by left double-clicking on it, puts it into record monitor. The cool thing here is that real estate is always adjustable. I'm going to clear out the monitor and clean up the menu, so there's nothing in there. When I say clear the monitor, that presumes that you and I are, watch this, this is important. So if I put in, for example, clips, here is a clip, okay? If I want to clear it out, clearing the monitor takes it out from that drive, if you want to think about it, but it's still on top of it. What do you mean? It's still on top of it. There we go. So you can actually theoretically put in a whole bunch of, and I know the exact number, 20 of these into the source monitor. And you can choose, pick and choose, which is the one you're going to use. That's usually cool when you're doing a documentary interview and say, I'm going to use all those 20 shots. So you put them all in. Now you notice my shots are color coded. Cool. That means that if I put them in the story, I can actually see how much of the yellow did I use. Did I use the blue more than once, or it's a different blue, or did I use a purple? So each of the clips can be color coded, and that's a beneficial, especially if you're paying for licensing usage, or you want to see how many times did John or Jane talk. It's a whole bunch of ways of doing that. If I want to clear out the record monitor, clear the menu, and start from scratch, go back to the instructor. So this is a pre-cut story. I want to make sure that the speakers are not going to blow your ears. So I'm going to mute it, which is M, muting it. Let's see if I can open it up. Did I mute it? Yes, M mutes it. So plays it. The pictures are playing. Generally, when I do Zoom, if I talk and the music is going, something is cut out. So you don't hear my voice when the music is going on. So that's why I'm talking over it. But you can see that these are straight cuts of a action. So let's play some music. Because I don't know how loud the music is, I'm going to open up my mixer, and the audio mixer, I'm going to bring the volume down a bit. Well, how much? Let me reorganize it again. Real estate management. This is one of the few tools that proportionately changes. Some stuff does not. This is actually proportionately shrinks. So I have a volume, master control volume. I'm going to bring it down to like maybe minus 15. Let's play it. Now, you notice that I have 2 tracks of audio and I have a master fader. The 2 tracks seem to be loud. They are going into red distortion. So the way I was controlling it, I brought the master volume down as opposed to leaving it up. So if I leave it up, I'm going to mute it. I don't want to blow your ears and my speakers. It doesn't even play it. It's muting it, exactly. So that's what it's supposed to do. So my master control is either bring the 2 guys down individually, and I group them. So I can actually bring the source down. Look at it. So the source is quieter. Or if I reset it back to 0, there we go, and I bring down the master volume. Now, the master volume can adjust up to like 99 tracks of audio or, you know, stereo, whatever combination you want to go with, depending on how much real estate you have. My point is that my control is really live. I don't control it with the speakers. I control it inside the AVID. Let's move along. I have a story that I pre-cut. Here are different versions of it. So I have a different version of it, 7.1. There we go. Different things on. And 9.1. What's 9.1? There we go. There's some effects there. And you will, as you go along in your life of editing, learn a couple of things. One thing is you need to have some markers. You see these little purple icons? Those are markers telling me to do something or, you know, address it. So if I park on it, it actually tells me what to do. Slow it down, or another information tells me that I need to speed things up. And generally, you notice only one of those markers is giving you information. So if you want to find out how many things you need to do, and you see that I have 3 of those markers, you can in your tools drop down, 3 markers come up. Cool. Which one is the first one? Slow down, then speed up. Okay, can I jump from marker to marker by double clicking in the marker tool? Yeah, double click, watch what happens. Boom. Jumps there, jumps there. When I say jumps there, jumps in the timeline. So these are like cool little things that in AVID we have. Watch this. I'm opening up the keyboard settings, and I have a format tells me that I am running at 720p, 1280-720. That is the raster size. I'm running at 24 drop, and I'm using the color space YCBCR, which is luminance, chrominance blue, chrominance red. And in the user setting, that's where the keyboard comes up. Okay, keyboard, first occurrence of the keyboard is, there we go, open up. I have an active keyboard. Here's my active keyboard. What do the buttons do? No idea. On a miserable day, coffee, tea, nourishments, put your feet on the table, put some music on and learn the buttons. Oh, okay. So the buttons tell me. Can I assign to any button anything? Sure. Can I complicate it? Sure. Applications that I know of can hold down 3, 4, 5 buttons. No, AVID usually has 2, 1 or 2. Yeah, but it can have multiple keyboard settings. I have, like, say, the multicam. I'm going to activate the check off is going to be in the keyboard. That is the hello, come on now. Activated. There we go. It's activated. There we go. It's a different one. So multicam 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I can pick any other one. Let's say the Premiere Pro. Here's something that was introduced in version 2022, July, I believe. So I have a keyboard shortcut that is creating what the Premiere keyboard shortcuts would be. Or if you are a Resolve keyboard shortcut, there we go. Double click on it, open it up, keyboard, and it gives you the DaVinci ones. Cool. Like it or not, it is there. My point is that if I want to know what the buttons do, I definitely want to open up my user settings and find out what those keyboard settings are. The cool thing about this user setting is, as I said, it is practically updatable and exportable. So if I export it someplace else, my name is export user, where, put it onto a place and say, hey, and put on a desktop, and I can find it. There we go, desktop, there we go. It will carry my name, and if I did my job right and everything works right, it should be there. Done. I can also import it. It is importable. How? Activate import. So these are the cool ways of using keyboard setups. But let's move along because I need to show you a couple of things. Editing, as I said, guys, is very simple, very easy, very logical because you know where the stuff comes from. Where does it go? So let me quickly give you a breakdown how the editing would go, possibly if you know some kind of sequence. So let's say that you and I have material, and let's say the material is all these clips. Well, I don't see it because it's tiny. Yes, I hear your issue. So two choices. One choice is make sure more real estate, but then I'm encroaching on somebody else's. If you have two monitors, that would be easier. But what happens if I just do this? Watch this. I'm going to drag it off. Oh, I tear off the whole thing. So this whole bin is now watchable either in picture view or in script view. Picture view is cool, but these pictures are small. How can you make them bigger? Command L, Control L. How far it will go? Well, whatever the resolution is. And if I right-click in the gray area, I can say, hey, excuse me, get these, align them, and fill the window. And these are now all the clips that I have available. Coolest thing since sliced bread. My way of putting two together is going to be drag and drop. This is the storyboard editing, may or may not be useful to you. I am just showing you because, as I said, this is a sample of how the program works. This is not going to be a full training. I hope you understand that. So I'm going to grab maybe 6 shots. The rest of the shots I don't need. Put them away. Lasso concept is very cool. And I'm going to arrange my shots. Shot number 1, shot number 2, shot number 3. This is called the postcard storyboarding. Why? Because it is replicating some of the back in whatever, 100 years, 80 years ago when they had like multiple pictures on a postcard. The hierarchy is going to be left to right, and top to bottom. So the expectation is the guy is flexing, the guy is on the street, the guy is going to be jumping, the guy is somebody jumping, dumping. Select all 6 shots. And if you drag it into the timeline, you put a story together. That easy. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. There we go. The story is put together. Drag and drop. Wow. How many shots? Well, 6 shots. Let me play them out for you. Is there some kind of noise in there? Yes, there is. I'm going to make sure that it is not that loud. Remember, in the tools drop down earlier, I made the mixer quieter. There we go. Bring the mixer down and watch it. Guys flexing. If I want to speed it up, I'm going to use my friend. On the keyboard, there is a friend called JKL. Doesn't matter. Everybody does that. Premiere does that. DaVinci does that. So I can go back to my own keyboard, which is mine. There we go. Activate that. It is still JKL. See if I hit L using my keyboard setting. Hit L as Lexus. Goes faster. Double speed, triple speed, 5 times speed, 8 times speed. Go to the whole stuff very fast. If I hit K, pauses it. Go back. Goes backwards. So now I have 6 shots. Each of these shots are going to be playing in full length. And you're wondering how long is the story? There's no idea. Yes, you do. Look at the upper right-hand section of the composer and the left portion, and it says master time code. How long is this? This duration is about 2 minutes, 20 seconds, 11 frames. Okay. And how long are each of the elements? Say hello to your new friend. And it is in the bottom left-hand corner. There is a tool that allows you to see the clip text durations. There we go. 19 seconds, 16 seconds, 26 seconds, 30 seconds, 17. Oh, man, that's the coolest thing since sliced bread. So if you are really an editor and you say, I need to cut them down to like very short. How long? Let's say 5 seconds. So I type in +500. The playhead moves down 5 seconds. Mark in. Go cut it out. IO. Extract button by definition is X, extract, takes it out. So now I have 5 seconds. If I go 5 seconds +50, again, IO, cut it off, very fast, very easy. IO, mark in, mark out, you know that concept. X extracts it, and I have 2 5-second shots. I'm going to go 3 more because I need to finish up the webinar. +500. I'm using the numeric keypad. When I say numeric keypad, I'm referring to the keypad that is past this area. So the full size numeric keypad is the one I'm using to move around. So that's why when you're Avid editor, highly recommend it, even in Premiere and DaVinci, because I train all 3 of those, all including the Avid. The full-size keyboard helps you navigate with specific. In this case, I'm going to activate that 5 second. Go back here. Made a mistake. Boo-boo. Plus 500, 5 seconds. IO, cut it off. And I don't know, I'm just doing randomly, so it doesn't really make sense, but you understand. Plus 500, cut it off. And if I go down here, I have a number of shots that I put together, and these shots are plus 500. There we go. And I'm going to use another tool. Instead of cutting it off in and out, I'm going to use my friend called tail. So from where I am at, I'm going to cut off till the tail, which is, watch how simple it is. Done. If I type in plus 500, I'm going to cut from the playhead to the end of it by using my friend tail. That's it. My story is done. Command S, play it. Full screen, not yet. But let's just add some quick dissolves in between. My blanket, I mark in O. So I put a blanket on the first and second, second and third, third and fourth, fourth and fifth, fifth and sixth. And I would like to add only a video dissolve. The quick transition tool allows me to do dissolves or anything else. I'm going to do a dip to color. How long? Let's make it 12 frames. Even numbers are the ones that any software likes. So these are all dip to blacks. And if I'm done with it, guess what? They should be all those things. Now, because I did not choose the right answer, I did not choose to apply to all of the transitions. It only added to the nearest. So I'm going to choose to all transitions. That's why I added the blanket. So if I do that, I don't need to render it. The system can play it. And in some places might have some short that doesn't have enough media. So if I play it, watch it. Dip to black. I'll add some music to it and okay. And to make it interesting, and I have some music somewhere. Where? Editing, I told you guys, is easy, simple. Presuming that you know where your stuff is. When you know where your stuff is, go into the bins. Bins, come on now. And I should have some music somewhere. It says music. There we go. Where's the music? Let's put it in. Let's play it. Too loud, as I have been saying all along. If you are controlling the sound, let's control the sound. And instead of controlling it in the source monitor, when I say source monitor, I bring it in. How many tracks do I have? It looks like I have 2 tracks. Forget about the natural sound. I'm going to kill it. When I say kill it, I'm suggesting I'm going to put it into the audio. 1 goes to audio. 1 blue, audio. 2 green goes to audio. 2 blue. Put it in. How much? Put the whole thing in. What do you mean pull the whole thing in? Well, just put it in. That's it. So I have more than I need. I go to the end stuff here, mark it in. I go to the end, out, and on the audio, take it out. So now I have, how long is the story? 30 seconds. Listen to the music. Oh, wait a minute, Tibor. The volume level. Well, you notice that I had the mixer. And in the mixer, I brought the volume down. There we go. So I should be okay now. Okay, they're not on the beat. Don't worry about it. Command Y adds another video track, and I'm going to make it black and white. And that's going to get us into concluding this webinar. As I said, this hopefully is an introduction for some of you. And if you're an expert or you use AVID, this might be boring, or this might be something, oh, I found something. So I don't know your background. And that's always unfortunate, especially in webinars that are over not a face-to-face communication, but they are electronic communication. With that, I'm going to add a layer that's going to be a color layer. So in the effects family, I have a family that is most commonly used, or family of the effects, or the family that is using the effects is the one I'm working on. So in the image family, I'm going to add a color effect, drag it onto the top layer. It's a filter. By definition, doesn't do anything, but you and I will make it black and white. How? Activate my effect editor and make sure that the saturation is brought down, the chrominance is brought down. There we go, black and white, make some more contrast. And because we want to be interesting, not just black and white, make it sepia tone. Looks like it's an ancient stuff. Push the red a little bit, take away the blue. Within a couple of seconds, you made a different show, guys, altogether. And if I command asset, control asset, this is my story. Before the beginning, I have a need to fade up from the beginning. How? Look at my playhead. The playhead and the beginning of the shot is determining the length of the fade up. And the same thing goes at the end, which in this case is Go to the end, just before the end, maybe what, I don't know. I'm eyeballing it. Okay, to the end, Command S, play it out. Here's the big show. So scenario is now how you do monetize it, how you distribute it. If you work for a network, this sequence is registered someplace. So they can actually put it into a environment where it is going to be aired at a specific time. But let's say that you want to send it out. Right-click, drop down, activate your export tool. Is an export tool. There should be a choice where you define how are you going to export it. So you can export it out as a QuickTime movie or any of these other tools. So if you decide that, you send it as an MPEG-4. Do you use the marks and anything like that? So this is where you decide how you're going to monetize it, 1920, 1080, or different display size, because you're going to send it out as a 4K or whatever it is. This is where you now make the decision. And when you can save that settings as my settings, now you don't have to look for it anymore. It's a setup for it. So now you set it for PBS, put it on the desktop. And when it goes on the desktop, you can actually say, hey, save it. And it is exporting it. And now you are monetized. Check clears. You spend the money. Enjoy the rest of the week. Guys, this clearly is not a detailed demonstration. It is a run-through, a fast-paced demonstration of how the product works. And I hope that you got something out of this. If you're interested in signing up for class, you need to follow the procedures with the Future Media website link. We are Future Media Concept, and you are able to connect to us. If you like this, let us know. If you're happy with what you learned, I am happy. Take care. Be well.